US President Donald Trump arrived in Beijing on Wednesday evening for a state visit to China, greeted by Vice President Han Zhen during a welcome ceremony. The US president is seeking to sign deals with China to buy more American food and aircraft, saying he'll be talking with Xi Jinping about trade more than anything else. Trump's trade war with Beijing has sent US-China trade into a freefall and forced companies on both sides of the Pacific to regroup. Now, Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping will try to use this visit as an opportunity to stabilize their relationship. The US president will be in China from the 13th to the 15th of May. Trump has taken along top business and industry executives, including Elon Musk, Jensen Huang of Nvidia, Apple's Tim Cook, and many others. Ukraine is under a massive Russian daytime aerial attack that has killed at least 6 people, with over 800 drones already sent since midnight, according to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. While dozens more have been injured, the leader wrote on his social media on Wednesday afternoon that the assault was still ongoing. Regions targeted include Kyiv as well as the southern region of Odessa, where at least 2 people have been injured and homes have been destroyed, officials reported. Meanwhile, Russian attacks on Cherkasy have left 3 people injured. Western regions of Ukraine, such as Lviv and Ivano-Frankivsk, have also been hit, according to Ukrainian officials. 2 people were left dead in the Rivne region and 4 others were injured following a Russian strike, according to Vitaly Koval, head of the regional military administration. Meanwhile, Moldova's defense ministry has confirmed a violation of the country's airspace after reports appeared on social media of a drone filmed over Balti. Moscow's massive aerial attack is happening as US President Donald Trump arrived for a visit to China.
NATO is not dead. This was the message delivered by Latvian President Edgars Rinkēvičs at the B9 summit in Bucharest on Wednesday. The meeting aimed at exploring how allies on the eastern and Nordic flanks can contribute more to transatlantic security. Despite tensions between Europe and the United States, the Latvian leader believes that the transatlantic allies understand their interests within NATO.
I still see and I still believe that like Europe needs the United States from very practical reasons and also from very political reasons, the United States are realizing that also they need Europe. And still NATO is the best platform to align those interests, also to align some values and also to align some common action. Having said that, now we have to be very careful not to further destroy this kind of mutual trust, but actually to rebuild some of the bridges that have been damaged but not destroyed.
Regarding the conflict in Ukraine, the Latvian president says he's seeing encouraging signs from the battlefield.
What is encouraging is that what we have seen recently, Ukraine has been able to develop its drone systems, its long-range missiles. It's hitting Russia's economic infrastructure hard. But at the same time, we see also that Russia continues attacking civilian infrastructure. Russia is not gaining so much as it used to 2-3 years ago on the front line.
However, he's careful not to speculate about a possible end to the war. Rinkēvičs stresses that Russia's capabilities must not be underestimated. Rather than debating Moscow's potential weaknesses, he calls on allies to continue their efforts to put pressure on Russia.
More than 1,700 people have been confined aboard a cruise ship on Wednesday in the southwestern French city of Bordeaux after a passenger died and dozens more developed symptoms of a suspected norovirus outbreak. The affected patients, according to the ship's captain, have received medical attention by the onboard ship doctor and are being isolated in their cabins. The cruise ship, named the Ambition, part of the Ambassador Cruise Line Company, is carrying mainly British and Irish passengers. It departed from the Shetland Islands north of Scotland on the 6th of May, before making stops in Belfast in Northern Ireland and Liverpool in England prior to its arrival in Bordeaux. The ship was midway through a 14-night cruise when the infections were reported. France says it dispatched a team to carry out a health situation assessment on the vessel, where medical professionals are collecting samples to identify the illness. Authorities have decided to prevent the disembarkation of passengers and crews until the collected samples are tested by laboratories. Health officials say the infections could also be severe cases of food poisoning, but have ruled out any connection to the hantavirus, which hit another cruise ship just weeks ago and has put European health authorities on alert.
EU lawmakers have reached a provisional deal to make the EU-US trade agreement suspendable in the event of a market disruption caused by a surge in US imports, Euronews has learned from two sources close to the talks. Intense negotiations have been underway between EU governments and the European Parliament over the implementation of the deal, which could cut EU tariffs on US goods to zero under pressure from the Trump administration. MEPs have been pushing for tougher conditions since the agreement was clinched last summer between Trump and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, arguing that it must not become a vehicle for extortion of the EU. A provisional compromise was found on a safeguard mechanism allowing the EU to reimpose tariffs on US industrial goods if a surge in imports disrupts the European market. Negotiators also agreed in principle to include a sunset clause that would automatically terminate the deal unless renewed, though the final timeline remains under negotiation. The Commission is also pushing to remove references to the EU's anti-coercion instrument, seen as the EU's trade bazooka that could curtail US access to the European single market in unprecedented ways. The Commission is also pushing back against provisions suggested by Parliament, allowing the suspension of the deal if Trump were to threaten the bloc's territorial integrity again, one of the sources said. EU negotiators are aiming to finalize the agreement by June, ahead of a plenary vote in the European Parliament the same month, in time for the 4th of July deadline set by Trump.
An EU committee made up of experts from member states voted on Tuesday to ban imports of Brazilian meat starting from the 3rd of September due to the country's wide use of antimicrobials to stimulate animal growth. The decision to remove Brazil, famous for exporting steak to the world, from the list of countries that comply with EU food safety standards comes after the EU-Mercosur Free Trade Agreement provisionally entered into force on the 1st of May. The deal between the bloc and the South American Mercosur nations of Brazil, Paraguay, Uruguay, Argentina, and Bolivia has been decades in the making, with negotiations first taking place in the year 2000. The deal sparked major opposition from European farmers, who feared that different production standards and regulations will create unfair competition with cheaper Latin American imports. An official with knowledge of the file said that the vote was unanimous, making Brazil the first country removed from the list of states complying with EU restrictions on antimicrobial use in animals. Brazil, however, remains free under the current agreement to export its agricultural produce to Brussels. The list of third countries which comply with EU requirements and therefore can export food-producing animals to the EU will be formally adopted in the coming days.
You want to know what makes a hero? It's not destiny. It's not something you're born with. It's searching for greatness.
Johnny Cage, you have been chosen for Mortal Kombat.
Then realizing you've had it in you this entire time.
We learned a lot from the first movie. I think the producer, Todd Garner, really took into what fans were saying feedback-wise, and we just wanted to just make this the most insane fight film ever. So the first movie to me is kind of like a prequel, building up to the tournament, and this is the tournament. From the second you watch it, non-stop action, and yeah, it's very intense.
Whoa! I really don't feel comfortable hitting a girl.
Don't worry. You won't.
Yo! Send me back. I want to go back.
The rules of the tournament are simple. Our fates would not be settled by the size of our armies. They would be decided by combat.
I'm not some great warrior. I'm not some champion.
This is a war for the fate of your world.
Finish him! Me?
Earth belongs to me.
We do not kneel!
Our only chance is to face this together.
Let's go, baby.
You, Johnny Cage, are a part of this now.
It's showtime.
Get over here!
Johnny will definitely die.